Hello, everybody. Welcome. Beautiful Saturday, July 2nd to everyone. This is Lessons for Full Spectrum Humans. And today's level 2 lesson is lesson 14. It's all about longevity and energetic hygiene. I was just talking with some of the beautiful people that are here in person in our class, and many hugs to the beautiful people in class who are not here at this moment, but who will connect later. Everybody is very, very appreciated. But we were here talking a little bit before I got going on beneficial things that we do for our bodies. Like Martin was saying that he was able to go and swim in like a lake or a small body of water while the rain was coming down, what that was feeling like. And Trish and I were talking about like being near an ocean, a salty body of water, and that as long as the water is like, clear, good water, like, yes, so, salt water is very, very healing for the body. All this relates to the lesson that I recorded over 10 years ago at this point. But what we're soaking in absolutely comes inside of our body, and it's so important to have good quality of water. So I'll get more into the exact things because I talk a lot about salt for cleansing and clearing, and salt for being able to basically clear our energy field. So there's part 1 and there's part 2. The first part of what I'm going to tell you about is about longevity, and the second part is about energetic hygiene. And the energetic hygiene stuff are things that I've been doing for myself just as intuitive ways. Like I tell you, like I've come here 20 years ago as a walk-in, and that I did not know a lot about the maintenance of a human body. Maintenance is such a sterile word, but like the care and feeding of a human body. Like I didn't know anything about how to eat, what is the right food combinations to eat, when you should eat what, at what time of the day, how to cook, any of those basic things. I did not even know about shampoo. Someone once joked at me. They were like, "You did not know how to do human." I was like, I did not know how to human. I had to learn how to do that. My dog is right here. I'm giving her some hugs. So I didn't know you have to get a separate soap for your hair. That I was just did, she said maintenance of the mechanics. That's exactly it. But I know our body is more than just mechanics. Like it's definitely a big part of what like it's a love. That is something that we love, just like you can love a baby or you can love a dog, like you love your presence of your physical body. And I hope that this lesson will bring everybody into that state, because our body is definitely something to celebrate. Let me also just check my audio levels. My audio is okay by everyone? Okay, because some people who have said they have a little bit difficulty hearing sometimes on my YouTubes that it's not loud enough. And I want to make sure that it's accessible to people that might have hearing loss too. All the things that I do. So when I talk about flying rainbow lasagna, let me just grab that for everyone. Flying rainbow lasagna, and I say this a lot, that your original, this is in my notes, your original design of the human body was not to have it wear out in 100 years. And I'm talking about your design of like, when we first lived in Atlantis, like before we got genetically modified or invaded or changed or shifted in any way, that our bodies were not meant to wear out in 100 years. Now, I know we come from a very disposable society right now, and people do think it's normal. Like your car stops working after 5 years and like you get rid of it, you get a new car. But it used to be like maybe in the 1950s or 60s, they built a car and like that car lasted for a really long time. And like, of course, like you change out parts and you fix and maintain it, you could have that car for much, much longer than 10 years. But now cars are disposable. You just get a stupid car, it's all made of plastic, and then you get a new one. Your bodies are not like that. Our bodies are not like that. Our bodies are absolutely designed to live for, let's say, I will read this from my notes verbatim. Your body is an amazing piece of spiritual, energetic, biological technology in quotes there, all right, that was designed to be able to be used for thousands of years through cellular regeneration. So this is really, really big. I'm drinking my raw cannabis juice. That's why this looks green today. I don't know if you can see it. It looks very murky. But I'm going to talk all about this in longevity too. A big part of flying rainbow lasagna, when I talk about this, is a new way to dance with your DNA. And this is also the rectification for the genetic modification that took people who were highly ascended light eaters and turned you into mortals, that we literally used to be immortal in the sense of not experiencing any of the physical deaths on the membrane of death, on the periphery of the time field, but always went up the central core timeline and always maintained in that state of perfect divine alignment. And that also includes not just our overall macroscopic body, like my 4 limbs, my head, my face, but also every single part of my body, every single cell, every single fluid in my body, also completely in alignment with that highest core possibility of who we are, and that's your true nature. And when I talk about flying rainbow lasagna, I'm talking about a way of shifting and twisting around and solving the puzzle of your particular Rubik's Cube of DNA to be able to reclaim and return to that state, to be able to take you out of the dormancy or the destruction or degradation, obfuscation, like when something gets hidden, or the mixed upness. Like, I don't always have words for this, but the mixed upness of the way that things have become into the body that has then been normalized and culturally normalized. So I talk a lot, like in my song Symphony of Life or other times, about the sense that when you were a little tiny child, you came here and your DNA was doing its natural dance of immortality. You're like, hooray, I'm a baby, I got born, and my DNA is doing all this dance, and I'm here. You don't even have a conception of what death is. And then at a certain point, when you're in childhood, like maybe your goldfish dies, your grandmother dies, and then someone teaches you, oh, that is what death is. Grandma is bye-bye, goldfish is bye-bye. And then the DNA dances differently, and it begins to achieve the expectation of death. That is the example of the negative version. Thoughts and pre-existing cultural patterns and perception patterns and belief systems are imposed upon the new baby that is here with this completely free, completely cosmic, amazing DNA dance and DNA structure. Cultural paradigm is then imposed upon that baby and its belief system, and you learn, oh, you will be mortal, you will die. But until then, had no conception of that. The learning of that thought and that possibility changes your DNA. The learning of the new way of being, of flying rainbow lasagna, the learning of the possibility of changing and transforming the activities and genetic behavior that are happening inside of your cellular structure also has an impact. If I tell you with my words and give you a new paradigm that is a different cultural paradigm, that is from me, from Aurora Collective, from Flying Rainbow Lasagna land, for lack of a better word, from my zone, from my world, that's a new thought structure that you can pose. And you can also see it as an example, like you might have acculturated to, like seeing a bent over old person, like they're walking with a cane, they're bent over, they're looking old, and you're like, well, they look different. Why do they look that way? Why is their hair that color? Why does their body move that way? And you learned, oh, that is OLD. That is old. That person is old. And then your body also does a new dance that says, oh, I have just learned about decrepitude. So you learn about death, bye-bye, and you learn about decrepitude, which is the destruction of the healthy functioning of the body. So what I teach you about with Flying Rainbow Lasagna is ways of transcending both of those genetic patternings, which are not actually innate natural genetic patternings. Death and decrepitude are things that have been imposed upon humans to limit you. And the idea of having to get a new body, a new car every 100 years or so, definitely does not help you very much at all because of the amnesia problem that most of us are not having a conscious transferal, like the 17th Karmapa, I've heard it said different ways, transferring his consciousness consciously between different bodies over 17 generations. Most people die unconscious deaths. They kind of go into their journey, they come back, they have a baby, the experience of being a baby, being born again, and they've got that sense of what is going on? I don't even have language skills, having to spend the first 5 years of your life or so just mastering like how to walk around, how to use your body and your senses, how to eat, how to poop, how to understand language, how to write language, how to read language, and then all the things about understanding the world, like how does the world work? How does the economy work? All of that accumulated wisdom that you have to keep on reaccumulating. And that's what you pretty much spend the first 20 years of your life doing. And then, okay, now you're an adult, then you move onward again. This again seems like I'm telling you something that is very normalized to this place, but that's not the way it's supposed to be, that you're supposed to be able to have a huge amount of longevity, live for hundreds or thousands of years, so that you're not constantly having these page breaks and then having to reestablish yourself, recontextualize yourself, and be able to remember who you are again, that you have much greater continuity in what you learn. So yeah, like if you learned a piano song, it's still inside of you, you've internalized it. You don't have to be like, oh, new body, new life, learn that piano song again, like go into it again. And yeah, I'm going to teach you all about Flying Rainbow Lasagna and raw cannabis juice here. Hold on a minute while I drink a little bit. Several factors contribute towards longevity. Okay, ingestion, structure, context, and emanation. So ingestion is what the body ingests. It can be your food, it can be your drink, it can also be ideas, energy, and the social energy and emotional energy of the people around you. Structure has to do with the light body. You know something, I'm going to squint and scroll. I definitely need an example that I can show to you. Usually I'm very good about making sure everything is prepared. Let me just pull up a little something from my class notes. Wait, I've got it right here. You guys, I usually don't do this while I'm in the middle of class, but I have my class lectures all organized. So I can quickly pull up a picture for you. Great. And now I'll go to your screen share. I know I make squinty scrolly faces too. Structure, the light body. So what, oh, and let me go to my face. What you are seeing here is an image of your coherent light body. These bubbles of colorful energy that are surrounding the and interpenetrating the anthropomorphic form have to do with light, which is intelligence, which is data, which is consciousness. And it also relates very much to the structure of your cells and your belief system and energetic structure, which is non-physical and pure energy, has an impact on your physical structure. That's what these paintings are all about. So some of my paintings are purely abstract, like the ones that are in my background here and the ones that are on my dress. There's no human forms in there, but some of my paintings have human forms, and they're all about the intersection, the overlapping places of where your somatic or cellular physical material presence overlaps with your pure energy, pure consciousness, pure potential time body of coherent light. And that these two things, when one is healthy and well-formed, the other one is healthy and well-formed. So that speaks to structure. The next part is context. Context is the external events. That's where you are submerged in the time field. So you're this little point of awareness traveling through that vortex-shaped time field, and your context and the things that are around you absolutely matter. The reality within which one is submerged. And my example from the lesson from 10 years ago is you could eat kale salad every day and be super healthy. But if you're on a battlefield with like bullets whizzing all around you and bombs are dropping everywhere and shrapnel flying everywhere, your longevity will be severely decreased. Or another way of saying it, like you can eat kale salad every day, but if you go stand like in the middle of the highway with Mack trucks plowing into you, like you will not have longevity, because it is about the context of where your body is being placed. So you have to do good nourishment and basic stuff for your body, your energy field, your cellular health, and you also have to be amidst the right life circumstances. And I get big into this on the sense of making choices that are pro-survival at the root chakra level. It's not just like, okay, like I need food, I need water, I need shelter, I need like the basics of survival. You also need to be in the right context, because if you get food, water, and survival and shelter, but you are like, you know, in the midst of being hit by a Mack truck, that is not going to bring you longevity. And real survival is from what I talk about in this final portion, emanation. Emanation means what you send out, energy and reality, what you send out. Talked about this a lot in this class. Your pineal gland and your Christ chakra of your brow, here, your third eye, as being something that is reality, projector, or manifestation machine or apparatus, that this is where your reality comes from. And that really all of the other things that I mentioned are subsets of that creative activity. Our food, our water, everything that we have that sustains us, the people that are around us, the events and context in our life are all part of this co-creative partnership, this beautiful emanation that we have coming out of the imagination structure from our own inner being, but we're also in a generative field. So you are sending out and generating, you are creating world seeds. You also live within a field of pure potential, that when you plant those seeds in the field of pure potential, those seeds grow into realities. So in the antediluvian time, the time of immortality is how I should just refer to it, when we were immortals, when we are immortals, because we are still there and we are experiencing concurrent experiences through these many layers of distortion and light being densified and slowing down. We're still immortals, and we are in this dream that we are mortals. Through all of that, we are, oh, I'm sorry if I lost my place. through that, when we were in the time of immortality, we were able to do all of these things to basically emanate the best timelines for health and longevity for ourselves. This is definitely a reclaiming of the empowerment structure that we had at that time. And when I tell you, like, yes, like the mortality cycles are diminishment or suppressive, that's what I'm talking about. Like when you are living in health and vitality and you're empowered, you're able to stay alive a long time because you're intentionally co-creating your reality with your divine God self. And I will always affirm this to you. Your divine God self wants you to be healthy and alive, wants your body to be functioning at optimum levels, wants you to remain in existence, wants you to be doing all the things that you can in order to stay healthy and alive. That is the real divine mandate or divine directive. Be in existence, be alive. And that it is an honor, like you are honoring the person who has given you life and existence and sustains you by being like, yes, like I want to be alive. I want to stay here. I want to follow that central core timeline and be continued in existence to the point of infinity, a continued existence. I want to say immortality. So all of that is a little bit extemporaneous. Let me get back to the notes. Okay, so a lot of what I wrote about in terms of ingestion and the rules for living in this time and place. The rules that were applicable to other times and places do not necessarily apply to this time and place. They will not necessarily help you here now. That was what I learned in a very direct way when I came here as a walk-in 20 years ago. I'm like, I'm just going to eat sunlight. And I did not know about the necessity of eating denser food, material food to feed and nourish the material body. And it took me a little while to find out, okay, I am not getting everything that I need from just eating pure light. I'm going to have to dive in and understand this food thing also. And then, of course, there's the whole journey of learning all about nutrition and all about food combinations and all these other things. So one of the main things that you ingest is physical food. So physical food has a lot to do with Ascension. I was already talking about that in previous lessons. And it has a lot to do with longevity too. We want to eat food that itself contains unconditional love or light or pure intelligence. I'm beginning to call this food unadulterated. I think that's a good word for it, because that kind of, the word adulterated has kind of like a naughty, sexy vibe to it, something that has been kind of like tarnished in some way. That is not the type of food that we want. We want food that is just like, raw, not raw, but like pristine, that is whole or entire and not highly processed. And that those are the foods that have the most life force energy in it. And that even comes down to things like wheat flour. I read this beautiful thing about if you have like your wheat berries or your kernels of your grain, and then you mill it in a mill, like a countertop mill, and then use that flour immediately to be able to make bread and other bread products. It contains so much more life force energy, it is so much more digestible, it is so much more bioavailable, it is lower in acids, it is all these different things that make it better and healthier for your body. But that's not mostly the way the civilized world works within the past, since industrialization. And so the wheat is ground and the husks are taken off of it, and it's pretty much made dead. And then they bleach it, they throw a lot of chemicals and bleach on top of it. And so then by the time you get the flour, it is very dead and inert. So it still contains caloric energy, which is the problem. That the objective materialist world might look at what we have on the shelf in terms of flour and say, look, it contains plenty of caloric energy, and I can burn it in a flask and measure how many calories of heat will be generated from that. And I'm not measuring its life force energy at all. So the science of this time and place needs to be able to measure the life force energy that is held within an object before we can determine whether it is more or less beneficial to eat that object. I can tell you from direct experience and perception. So what I had, like when I was first here learning about food, I remember having like some kind of packaged soup that was like, onion soup in a soup mix that's dehydrated. And I was like, this food is dead. Like there's nothing in it. And then I remember eating soup that came from a beautiful cafe where everything was fresh vegetables and fresh seafood in there. And I was like, this food is real food. And it was not about how many calories are contained within each cup of soup. It was about the life force in it. And I felt like same container amount of food, but that one with the fresh vegetables and seafood was the one that really gave me It's basically light and intelligence and sustenance to be able to be here. High quality light in your food matters, unadulterated quantity matters, optimum levels of nutrition. So you got to be sure you can't just eat like one little tiny almond a day and be like, that's it, I got my light. Like you need to have more light than that. So eating enough food that has light in it, and then eating enough of the light food to be able to have that ingestion. I'm going to break from the notes for a moment to remind everyone, in the time when we were immortal, when we are immortal, these different levels of either walking on the ground, hovering around the ground and around the planet, and being at that floating in the sky civilization level, and then untethering from the planet and going off into the stars. All of these have to do with how much light you have inside of your body. Like if you only have a little bit of light inside of your body, you have to stay connected to the planet. You have to have your feet like a battery on the planet. And we'll talk about grounding and earthing too. That's essential for being able to keep your body alive. But at a certain point, you get enough light into you to be able to hover off the ground. So happy Rainbow Body is joining in. Hover off the ground. But when you do that, you then need a lot more food. Hi, Rainbow. I'm so happy that you're joining in. Are you in an airport? Are you still at home? I know I need to connect with you before you go on your journeys. Having enough light, enough MBS, megabytes per second, enough data coming into you and your body to be able to sustain you. Hold on one second. Turning on a fan because it's very hot here. Enough energy, information, and data coming into you from the sun, the stars, the light source that is beyond the physicality world to be able to sustain our light bodies. So walking on the surface, 10 units of energy per second, floating around here, 10,000 units of energy per second, untethering from the planet, 10 million gazillion units of energy per second. And all of that is to be able to keep the flow of your consciousness going. So when you are, back to my notes, eating food, at being able to have enough of the light that is within that food to be able to sustain you. And so those lessons, though, that are from another time place are not an exact analogy as to what do we do here now? What do we do here now? I know a lot of people are about like ditching the food and going completely breatharian or breathing prana or being able to be pure light eaters. We will get there. And also, when you're not there yet, please drink and eat good food. And that's what this is all about. And I'll teach you about how you get to the point of just ingesting nothing but pure light in this time place. Okay, quantity matters. The way you eat food matters. Eating consciously, did a whole class on that, so I won't be too repetitive, but eating mindfully, focusing on the tastes, energies, and ingestion process, not eating in a distracted sense. And excreting consciously too. I haven't spoken that much about this. A lot of people don't want to talk about food. When we get from this level down, people do not want to talk about food, but I think that's essential. So it's really important to be able to recognize if you eat a particular food and then like your stomach hurts or you have terrible gas or you have diarrhea or whatever happens afterwards, that you have to be able to say, I am eating my food consciously, and then I'm also feeling it as it's going through its whole digestive process to be able to know what is going on inside of me. So yes, when you become more and more faster at moving up to light speed, your light body is metabolizing much, much faster, and you become more aware of everything going on inside your body. You start to feel your blood flow, you start to feel your cell-to-cell communication, and you definitely are highly aware of what it feels like when you eat a particular food, and then what it feels like going through. And if it doesn't feel good, then you don't want to eat it. And that's my real feeling of like, a lot of foods of this world are not very tempting to me, because I'm like, oh, I definitely don't want to have to put that into here and then feel what that feels like going all the way through. Like that would definitely not be a positive thing. So yeah, avoiding certain foods. And why is that? Because a lot of foods are adulterated and they are made for consciousness reduction as opposed to feeding pure consciousness and helping you towards ascension. But real food, let me speak in positives here. Real food that is made of real light and prepared with love is absolutely essential for our ascension. So real food, that means it has great ingredients, but also prepared with love. This is big. I call this sometimes grandma's cookies. Grandma's cookies always taste better than store-bought cookies. Grandma made them for you with love. How about also something that is shared with you from a coworker, or a gift, food that is gifted. This is big. Because sometimes you might be like, you know, this person has this big, delicious, tempting muffin, but you're like, oh no, like I don't usually eat stuff like that. Like it's got a lot of dead flour in it. It's got sugar. It's got all these different things. Please take away that mind program. Here's a clearing, taking away the mind program. Someone is eating something and they offer you a piece or they gift it to you. It becomes alchemically transformed. Yes, it does have those substances in it that would be considered inert or harmful or not exactly what is feeding your ascension, but it becomes more than that. It becomes something that is a symbol of love, a symbol of generosity, a symbol of sharing, a symbol of sustenance. I did a beautiful teaching that was all about how we are within the mind dream of Christ, and we are fragments and aspects of his being in his last moments, and that we are coming to a sense of peace and ascension and working out these many things. Everything that we eat in our world is a gift from Christ. This is, again, a non-denominational teaching that is for people of all places and times, not merely a particular faith or particular belief system. But please know that you are a part of this incredibly loving presence, this incredibly loving person who really does give his body or their body parts for us to be able to be sustained. And so when someone offers you like, here, would you like some of this? You're like, I don't usually eat that. Take some of it, even if it's a small amount, and eat some of it. It is love from Christ. It is alchemically transformed in the giving. So that's big also, the sense of, how about if you cook for others? The cooking is a transformative process. It is more than just applying heat. There's a good book like Water for Chocolate that's about this too. That's about what you're feeling when you're cooking goes into the food. You guys know this on an intuitive level. So putting really loving, positive intentions into the food that you're making for yourself or others is huge. And that's like, even if you're just simply chopping up a salad or preparing vegetables in that way. So even if you eat a raw food diet, you are still preparing food. You are not applying heat, but you are transforming the food and making it more digestible. So, I mean, one big thing you might have noticed that gorillas have big, incredibly strong jaw muscles that allows them to chew, and they chew for 80% of their waking time. Humans do not have big, giant jaw muscles, and we have relatively small teeth and small mouths. And it's really, really hard to be like chomping on a carrot, chomping on carrots, chomping on celery, chomping on potatoes, chomping on all these things. Like, we need to use a knife and a cutting board to cut all these things up to make them more manageable for us. Same thing with like a horse. Like, a horse's mouth is enormous and their jaws are incredibly powerful, and they do that so that they can eat grass all day long. Like, we're not built like that. We use food processors and all these different things to be able to chop food up. That process of making food into ingestible, bioavailable increments is transformative. And it's important to put the love and attention and care into that process. So machine processed food does not have a lot of love in it. Do you know why? Because of quantum observership. Because when you observe food and you are putting love into that food, you are making it different. When I put together my morning bread that is made of like almond flour, eggs, olive oil or coconut oil, and some leavening ingredients, I'm not just putting together like 5 ingredients. I'm putting together something that has an energetic synthesis that turns into more than just like, why not just eat like flour out of the bag? Why not just eat a raw egg? Because that is not nourishing. It is not bioavailable. You put it into a pan, you cook it in the oven, you cut it into pieces, you dunk it in your coffee, then it's really good food. So all of that, that's this attention-based process. Quantum observership is an attention-based process. And what are we doing with our attention? Creating a tendril that sticks out from my mind and touches on things and tastes things and learns about things. It's very, very big. So preparing food with love. Preparing food with love, big, big, big. Let me get to what else do we ingest. So we ingest solid food that supports us here. We also ingest air. Breathing in air is a huge part of what sustains us, and it is an absolute art form. It is an art form in the use of the diaphragm. As I did this, did you notice my posture went up? I'm like, lift the chest, expand the vertebrae back here, to be able to breathe, not just shallowly from the upper levels of the lungs, but breathing from the diaphragm, being able to fill the lower lobes of the lungs, being able to fully release from the lower lobes of the lungs, breathing not through the mouth, but through the nose. And big when I do because this is about becoming a breatharian, when I do my sun gazing, when I do these special types of breathing, when I do this type of ingestion through my pineal gland, I am breathing up through my nose. I did this in my dance class. it goes, of course, like, through your nasal passages, but it also goes like into the sinuses underneath your eyes, into the cavities, the sinuses up around your eyes. And that absolutely relates to your third eye here. So when I'm breathing in, I am breathing in a way that goes in between my eyes, into the deep interior of my skull. Please do it with me, everyone. And I sometimes exaggerate my nose and my mouth, like, like if I were to be sniffing a flower at the florist, and don't worry if you make a funny face, because you might, kind of like flare your nostrils, make a funny face. It becomes a very conscious form of ingestion. And that is part of the journey of moving beyond physical food. All right. In order to do this, you also have to have enough chi or prana available in your environment. So just like doing sun gazing, you have to be able to have the clear, pure sunlight to be able to ingest it and bring it inside of you. Same thing with the prana. So right now we're living in a world that has a lot of difficulties. We've got the sun simulator that creates a lot of artificial light. And I was telling someone about how much it transformed my life. I had LED lights in my ceiling of my bedroom. And I went to the hardware store, like an old hardware store, not a chain hardware store, because I don't think you'll find them at one of the newer, like Home Depot, Lowe's or whatever, but find regular incandescent light bulbs. I put them into the ceiling fixtures and my bedroom feels so much better. Oh my goodness. Everything, like my skin and my face and the way that I look and the way that I feel, and every single feeling of my bedroom feels so much more restful and peaceful. And I wrote that on Facebook, and so many people came out of the woodwork and confirmed how much LED lights are uncomfortable on the eyes, create a frequency that is not healthy and helpful for us to be around. The compact fluorescent bulbs are also really not that good. I call it the squiggly bulbs, not that good either. And then the sun. Everybody also really commented on Facebook on the sense of our sun does not look the way it used to look. Those of us who have been on the earth for many decades can remember a golden sun that had a yellowish color to it. And when I would be out in the sun, I could do sun gazing and I could see the bullseye shaped rainbow around the sun. And I also felt that it was not frying my skin. And especially over the past, let's say 3 years, definitely the past 5 years, but very intensely the past 3 years, there were times when I would be outside when I felt that the sun was assaulting instead of nourishing. That is not normal. That is not how it's supposed to be. The sun is our parent. It is our emanator. It is absolutely our lover. And its rays and emanations are meant to be life-giving. Life-giving. This goes beyond any of the programs that might have been put into people about melanomas and things like that, like always wear sunblock and never go out in the sun. Like that was a big thing in the 1980s. That is not the only thing that's going on here. It's not just expectation and belief system and cultural paradigm programming. This is also like very, very real physical shifting of the frequency of the sun. And my plants, I grow beautiful cannabis in order to drink my raw cannabis juice. So it's settled to the bottom here. Let's swirl it up a little bit. But that's what's in here right now. And I'll tell you about how I currently get it, even though I have a little container garden. My plants, so cannabis are sensitive to photoperiod. That is how many hours of light are in the sky. They go into a vegetative state initially in the high summer, and then they go into their flowering state in October. That's part of the plant's natural life cycle. And I found with my plants over the past 3 years or so that if I did not give them supplemental lighting, that they would go immediately into flower, even in the summertime. And what that means is the plants are not getting enough of their frequency food from whatever is the light source in the sky. There is a particular frequency that is missing, that is kind of like in the pink magenta level of light, that I give them these pink magenta supplemental lights, and then they thrive and they grow tall the way they're supposed to. And then when I turn off the lights, then they go into their flowering stage. The sunlight from above is supposed, in high summer, is supposed to have that color in it. And it's also supposed to be coming from like a high declination. And then the sunlight in October comes in at a slant, a lower declination. And the plants sense that. It's like a time clock. And it tells the plants, oh, time to flower. You're going to have to make some seeds because soon it's going to be winter, even if you live someplace where it's warm like California. The plants have a natural life cycle. So the plants have been fooled. And it's not just cannabis, even though that's the one that I'm most familiar with. Again, I had to learn a lot about gardening. I did not come to this planet knowing everything about its microbiome, gardening, minerals that you have to put in your soil, compost. I didn't know about any of those things, did not have those skills. Like I literally did not know about how to make coffee. I had to learn all these things because we live on a planet where you have to grow plants in order to stay alive. And things are very different for me in the time when I lived in a body in that immortal time. Everything changed. So I had to learn, like maybe about 10 years ago, really about gardening, really about microbiomes. And so I learned mostly about the, like food gardens and cannabis plants. People who grow fruit trees, people who have blackberry bushes, they're all reporting to me the same thing. Flowers are not coming out at the same time of the year. Fruits are fruiting at weird times. Fruits are misshapen or not as much, not as abundant. The plants are confused. The light that is coming from the sky is confusing to both humans and plants at this time. And so we also have to recognize that you need to be super lasagna. I want to say super badass, super lasagna to be able to jump up and over whatever are the illusions, false light, lies, and get to the truth. Jump over the hurdle of whatever is blocking out your true divine connection, true connection to nourishment and intelligence, true heart connection, because the sun is someone that loves us so profoundly, a parent in the sky, a parent that loves us so profoundly, and that its emanations are completely nourishing. So actually, that's why I wrote that album. I called it Under a Gentle Sun, because I write music of the things that I wish to see manifested in reality. I'm very big on that, making our creative efforts in envisioning the world that you want to be a part of. And I envision a world under a gentle sun again, not a hot white sun that, like when I lived in Ojai, literally felt like a blast furnace. It felt like something very, very destructive. So mostly when I would go out, I would wear a giant hat, so sunblock, a giant hat, or skin protecting oils, giant hat. And then I did a lot of my lasagna dancing in a shady spot or inside of the garage where I would not be in the direct sun. But that is not ideal. Ideally, we would just be sun gazing and completely being able to touch the sun directly and have the sun touch our bodies. All this in order to also say prana, breathing in chi and prana. In order to be light eaters, breatharian breathers, we need to be able to have these substances in our environment and not be limited in our interactions with them. So you got to make sure that you've got that chi or prana in the environment. Bad news, a lot of the things that are going on in our world are suppressing techniques to take away the chi and the prana. And that can be everything from like all of these Bluetooth emanations, 5G emanations, the frequency smog. I'll get into this. Frequency smog and the many different things that prevent us from being able to have access to that. And also frictional mind energy. So there's physical, measurable physical frequencies that are antithetical to prana and chi. And then and also architecture. If you look into the work of Dan Winter, he's very good on this, the sense of being able to build our buildings, shape our buildings, and create city planning and town planning to be able to cultivate chi and prana. Guess what? In China, like 5,000 years ago, they knew about this. It was an incredibly advanced culture that incidentally was based on hemp. China means the land of hemp. And the reason why they make their pagodas with little curled up edges, as opposed to 90-degree angles and all these straight lines, they understood completely that architecture needed to conform to certain polygonal ideals, and that would cultivate chi or prana, that a lot of these cultures that created stone megaliths and even places like the Taj Mahal, the formations of these great halls are very intentional in the sense of collecting chi and prana. To a lesser extent, so too are the cathedrals of Northern Europe, where it's like an orgone generator. When you get inside of these stone cathedrals that are shaped in a certain way, they're often ovoid, and it's great for singing. It amplifies your voice, la, 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 and you feel a lot more elevated. You feel elevated because it's a big ball of chi. It's a big ball of prana. So that's some places where there's a lot of prana and chi. The ocean. I live a block from the ocean. It's what I love about it. And I know Trish is a person in this class. It's a big advocate for getting to the beach, going to the ocean. There's a reason why you feel uplifted there. And also other natural places like going for a hike on a mountain really helps too. And getting out of electrosmog. So what reduces chi and prana and what adds to chi and prana according to my notes? Wait, first, let me just say, Prana and chi are the non-physical abstract energy of consciousness that gives you cellular vitality. It's the food for your cells. It's the generative non-physical aspect that makes your body be alive, all right, and healthy. Things that reduce chi and prana and things that add to chi and prana. So bliss is what adds to chi or prana. And that's what Dan Winter's work is a lot about, different ways of helping people to generate bliss. And bliss can also be known and be somewhat analogous to the flow state, the state of heightened awareness, ability and creativity that a lot of artists and athletes achieve. It is basically a frictionless mind state, all right? Mental friction equals reduced longevity. This is big. The more you think and the more you have mental chatter and the more you have the mental back and forth inside of your mind, that reduces longevity. That's the key. And it's not always even just your own thoughts or conversations with yourself. Sometimes it is negative thought entities. And boy, don't we have a lot of that happening in our world. So I'm very big on clearing out the interstices and focusing beyond the negative thought entities in order to be able to have bliss and mental clarity. Ascension is a state of pure bliss. And there are times when I have felt that feeling, mostly when they would turn off the electrical grid. And this was like 2.5 years ago. They were turning off some of the grid in order to save parts of California from the fires that were going through many different places. And on those days when they turned off the electrical grid, I felt such a burden lifted and felt so much more energetically connected and empowered in terms of receiving all of the ascension energies. So just understand there's a big giant anti-ascension grid that's around this planet right now that I'm informing you of and fighting against quite assiduously. But I want you to know about it, not to feel victimized, but instead to comprehend, why is it so difficult for you to collect your chi? Where is all of your chi going? You should have 10,000 units of chi. Hi, Lucy, good to see you. Coming to you every day, right? Every minute. Should have all this amazing life force energy and blissful ascension energies coming to us. And instead, we're getting a mere trickle because of things that are happening in terms of 5G grid and energy architecture on the electrical grid and satellite inhibitors also, satellite grid inhibitors also. All of these things reduce our bliss and add to mental friction. Bliss is the seemingly timeless state that is produced by having all chakras in perfect humming alignment. That's much more succinct in the way that I'm saying this. Your chakras are like water wheels. We get all these things, all these gears turning perfectly. And then there's really no need for thought. No need for thought, no need for verbalized thought. So when you guys see me and I'm in my classes like this, or when I'm doing my Flying Rainbow Lasagna dance class, I am verbalizing because it is important for me to put into words what is not in words, because telepathy is not enough right now, especially with a lot of the antithetical energies that are blocking out mind-to-mind communication. I have to use words, but I want you to know that most of the time I'm spending my time in a wordless, not pre-verbal, like an infant, post-verbal state intentionally in order to achieve frictionless levels of bliss and longevity. And I want to encourage you to do the same. So bliss is the seemingly timeless state of producing all chakras in perfect humming alignment. It feels like eternal time, and there is no evidence of verbalized thought. You might still have thoughts and perceptions and emotional processes that are happening, but it is not verbalized. And when you go into that state, you will begin to note that you can have a lot more thought activities in a smaller amount of time than when everything has to be verbalized. So if you have a thought that might say, I am holding a pen, that takes a lot of time to say in your mind, a verbalized thought, I am holding a pen. But if you don't have to say the actual words, you can have that thought go by that fast. You can process and think thoughts at a much, much faster rate. And I've also been telling you guys about wormholing from point A to point B and flying rainbow lasagnaing in terms of neural processing. Going nonverbal, post-verbal is absolutely pro-survival, very, very good and positive for you to be able to do, and highly functional. I want you to know I'm highly functional. Go nonverbal in your mind state. and you will be able to think even faster. But you might find, like I find, that it is a challenge for me to slow down what is going on up here and be able to get it to what is going on here with the flapping of my moving mouth parts, because they're not moving at the same rate. Can't get the same amount of information from here into here at the same time. So that's my minor challenge. I'm always in gratitude. I'm not complaining. I'm telling you what's going on. So sometimes my brain is moving much faster than my mouth can catch up. It is also a balanced and coherent state. I'm encouraging everybody for longevity, cultivating longevity, to perform activities that bring you into this blissful state. So also, I'm not very big on just sitting, doing nothing. I'm like very active and hugely energetic. So I have so much energy, I'm like bouncing off the walls. So for me, just seated meditation is not ideal. So I find all these different things that I can do in order to achieve that wow, like mental clarity, doing it. And for me, so it can be something like long distance running or cardio. Like I don't do a lot of running, but I do a lot of long walks. That's really, really good. Or anything when you're at the gym, like if you're bicycling or ellipticaling or any of those things where you just like, the body just goes, You do your thing. You don't have to think about stuff. And usually like after like the first mile is usually just like burning off crap. Just burning off like the things you think about from work and from family and from this and from that, burn it off. Kind of like when you first turn on the grill outside, like you're just burning off the accumulations that are on the barbecue grill. And then at a certain point, all that stuff is just incinerated off, and then you just have a perfectly clean cooking surface. Then like the miles after that, it's usually like, wow, smooth sailing, just going along, just doing your thing. Artwork and music are big for me. That's what I usually do in order to go into mindless mindfulness states. Doing these pattern paintings where my mind is big on patterning. So you might not know it, like it's not just the drawing stages, but it's also the painting stages, because I do a lot with comparing symmetry. So I'm like using my nonverbal mind to be like, well, there's red over here. Is there red over here? No, I better paint some. There's green over here. Is there green over here? No, I better paint some. Like I'm looking around the whole painting and being like, oh, like that's there, that's there, that's there, that's there. It's post-verbal. It is very highly complex. It's a lot of things to juggle at once, and it keeps my mind activated in a positive way. I have positive projects that I can put my mental energy into. And same thing with my music, that when I'm doing my music, I'm like, have my headphones on, really focused on a particular beat, then really focused on the next layer, then really focused on the next layer and the next layer, and what it feels like, layering up all of these songs and then listening to it many, many times in a row. And a lot of my songs are without lyrics, they are just instrumental. It gives my mind something to focus on. It feels very blissful. I talked about flow state. That is the high performance athletic and mental activities, sports, problem solving, math, computer software development. These are things that help bring humans into blissful mental states. Flying rainbow lasagna dancing. When I do my class, I'm narrating like, move your arm around in a circle, carrying a giant ball of energy. When I'm doing the actual dance, I don't think any of those thoughts in my mind. I'm just carrying the giant ball of energy. I'm just moving and expanding my spine. I'm just in that being state without having to verbalize it. It is the coolest, most relaxing, most fun, most awesome part of my day. I'm like, like all I have to do is not talk and do the flying rainbow lasagna dance. That is heaven. That is beautiful. And I call this mindful mindlessness. Okay, breathing in meditation. How do we do breathing? Preparation for becoming a breatharian. Breathing in meditation. I did some of this already, but I want you to know it's breathing like we're smelling something at a florist. But the energy that I'm breathing in comes down into my belly, where your small intestines are, slightly below your navel. Breathing that energy in, and at the same time, I am breathing energy upward through my root chakra from the planet. I have to articulate this so that everybody knows. The root chakra is not synonymous with the anus. It is not where you poop out of. It is your coccyx bone, the base of your spine. The very, very last little bony protrusion. That's the antenna of your spine. You got it? And that is what you're connecting to the earth. And we'll talk about earthing and grounding. So I feel the energy drawing upward on my spine through my root chakra, coming up even at the same time that I'm breathing in through my nose and coming down, and it all accumulates here, and then filling up the chalice of your being until it comes all the way up, and then being completely filled up. Then you can always kapow, it into the camera so you can see kapow, kapow, like up, out through the top of your head, connecting to the sun. Or you can also do out through the top of your head and then back in through the back of your head and then out through the front of your head. You can make a big loop, or you can even make a big loop out through the top of your head, in through your heart, back here, outward through your heart. You can experiment with what feels right to you at different times. Energy flows up the spine from the earth. At the same time, energy flows in from the nose and the upper chakras. Told you about sniffing deeply with your nose and kind of really opening that up. And also drawing inward with the tendril of attention. So you have this tendril of attention that sticks outward from here. That is what I use to draw in energy, to draw in sunlight. And apologies for any noise that might be upstairs. Saturday morning apparently is the vacuuming time of day for my upstairs neighbors. So just apologies for that. Oh, Trish is talking about feng shui. Exactly, exactly. Oh, and Trish is also saying birds eat food and they fly. Yeah, absolutely. It takes an enormous amount of calories per ounce of like how much birds weigh. But when people say eat like a bird, birds eat a lot according to their body weight in order to be able to sustain the energy of flying, of flight. And they eat many, many times throughout the day. They have to constantly eat almost all the time. And feng shui, that is from China, the energetic awareness. They are aware of energy and they are aware of how architecture holds or dissipates energy. 90-degree angles dissipates energy. Other angles and smooth curves bring in energy. This is all very, very apparent. Like once you become energetically sensitive, you just know this stuff intuitively. And then she also says, yeah, well, this is why there's so much confusion. Trish says, through the anus and the root and the sacral energy is harvested. That is why there is so much confusion, that people do not necessarily know. You're supposed to connect to the earth with your sacred sacrum, your base of your spine. Many people have been violated energetically or physically, and they do not know. They do not know the way their body is supposed to work. So I'm here verbally expressing to everyone how things are supposed to be. And all the anatomy that I draw is idealized anatomy. Okay, and this is, I mean, I'm going to talk about lots of different things, but since we're talking about this, I want to get to grounding. Let me just talk about grounding. It's later in my notes, but because we're talking about it right now. So what is grounding? Grounding is when you sit on the actual earth. And again, I wrote this stuff 10 years ago and I was living in Northern California and I had just come from upstate New York and I was saying like, only sit on the ground if it's not frozen outside. Like don't freeze yourself, and also barefoot standing on the earth. So these are real ways of being able to create energetic vitality. The earth is our other beautiful parent. We have multiple parents. We have the sky parent, that is the sun. We have the earth parent, that is like our physical material mother, matter, material world, root words, all the same. Mother, matter, material. It is that which sustains us in materiality. When you sit on the ground, and again, it's summertime in the Northern Hemisphere, so most of us could probably do this, and go someplace where it's not like covered in broken glass or dog poop, like someplace safe and clean, and you're not going to get run over by a car. And it's best to sit on grass, not on concrete. Concrete robs you of energy. I went to a musical presentation and I was sitting on these places that were concrete. And I was like, this is not good. Like, we do not want to have to sit on concrete. It draws energy out of you. It is not actually good. But what are good substances to sit upon are grass. Rocks are not that great. Sand is really beautiful. And, but if you're sitting on a rock or something like that, or concrete or whatever, just like put down something that is a barrier between you and that, you know, like uncomfortable circumstance. The best thing to do is like sitting on hard packed earth, like dirt, you know, like just clean dirt. That's the only way I can put it. Like, dirt is not dirty and gross, just clean dirt, places where there's not that much growing. Don't sit someplace where you're going to get a lot of ticks, because that's a huge concern. Like, ticks are bioweapons. So again, this is like the things that work for this time and place. but yeah, sit down someplace where you're not going to get ticks and you're not going to get frozen and you're not going to get run over by a car, and also it's where it's not on concrete. So you find a place, and then it is really just the sense of sitting there and having your lower back being able to connect all the way down to the crystalline core of our planet. Crystalline core of our planet. I don't know if you can sense this. Our planet, like, because I think that maybe you might think a crystal can only look like something that is clear like this. Our planet has a crystalline core that is not necessarily a clear crystal like that, but still a crystal. Just think of it in that way. A huge energy power source, generator, portal. You connect the base of your spine to that by sitting on the ground. And you can also connect the base, your spine, to that by having your bare feet on the ground. So don't wear shoes when you're doing the earthing grounding, just because there's rubber insulators that prevent you from being able to connect effectively to the ground energetically. Or, just like take off your shoes temporarily when you do it. And then you feel the bottoms of your feet and the energy coming up the bottoms of your feet and up the insides of your legs and up into your pelvis and then up into this area here. And then eventually all the way up here. And that is beautiful, longevity producing earth energy. Okay. Making a complete circuit with energy is energetic hygiene. So when we talk about doing sun gazing or any of these different practices, these are ways of clearing out your energy centers. And I'm going to start talking about that. That's part of part 2. The circuit is a cleansing act, like washing your epidermis with water. So when you first come here, you got to learn, like as a little baby, something, you got to wash your body. You got to wash your face. You got to wash your feet. You got to learn how to clean and maintain your body. Same thing with your energy field. Little baby sea turtles. Your nascent consciousnesses, you are beginning to notice that you have a coherent light body or a form in another world that is a world of pure light or pure thoughts, and that you are learning how to move your limbs there, and you are learning what are the consequences of moving your limbs there. You are learning how to nourish it, and you're learning how to clean yourself and keep yourself hygienic. Filling your reservoirs up with chi or prana or divine energy feeds all of the somatic biological cells, and the coincidence of the non-physical and the physical realm. That's what I was showing you with this image. I'll show you again, the realm of pure energy and the realm of experienced matter. This one right here. The intersection of these two places, the realm of pure energy, which are the rainbow colors, and then the realm of experienced matter. There is an overlap in your energy fields. There is an overlap. Oops, hold on a moment. Overlap in your energy fields of what these two bodies are and what they are doing. It takes a lifetime to master breathing properly. As we're talking about becoming an ascended master, it takes a lifetime to master breathing properly. It takes a lifetime to master this properly, just like being an excellent cello player, an excellent piano player. What are some other examples that I used? Doing yoga, portrait painting, all of these things are things that take time to do. Can't expect to do it instantaneously. Please give yourself the time that you need to learn. Now, you've been seeing me sipping on my drink throughout today's broadcast. I'm doing this intentionally. Usually you see me drinking my electrolyte water. I also drink this every day. This is pure raw cannabis juice. When I lived in Ojai in Northern California, I used to grow an extensive juice garden. I had more square footage and was able to grow enough plants that I needed to be able to sustain my juice needs. It takes a lot of fan leaves to put through a juicer, like a slow masticating wheatgrass juicer, to be able to make 1 cube of juice to go into here. Now I'm living in San Diego, and what I have been doing is being a part of a juice collective that is something that allows me to have juice, even though I don't have huge square footage for gardens in the city where I presently live. That I they grow hemp, and then they're able to juice it, and then they bring it as little frozen, sealed up packages to different patients or people who need them. What I really need for you to know is that cannabis is a food and a medicine for longevity. This goes to level 1, lesson 17. I talked all about the endogenous, you as a circuit with the sun, you as solar photonic feelers, the human endogenous cannabinoid system, all of that stuff. Please refer back to that. It's hugely important stuff. Endogenous brain chemistry, meaning chemistry that is native to your brain, includes cannabinoids. These are naturally occurring in the brain. They don't just occur in your brain, they occur all throughout your body, throughout your digestive tract. Every cell has membranes that are covered with cannabinoid receptors, cell-to-cell communication and receptors that are happening in terms of your body metabolism. Cannabis is, again, the basis of what was the Chinese civilization. Okay, like many thousands of years ago, China was able to develop into a civilized place because they used hemp for seeds, for oils, for fiber, and for medicine, and that this is a basis of human civilization, and that being able to have raw cannabis in your diet is a major aspect of longevity. It has been criminalized. It has been made into all sorts of problems here in the Western and post-industrial world. Please drop all of the judgment and nonsense surrounding cannabis. It is a part of your own body that you're externalizing. So yeah, it's not just a brain chemical. You have receptors all throughout the entire body on every cell membrane, and the cell-to-cell communication that happens as a result of ingesting proper amounts of dietary cannabis is equivalent to telepathy. Your cells talk to each other through telepathy. That means that your nose cell talks to your elbow cell telepathically, like they don't have to touch in order to talk to one another. They are talking to one another. That is very, very big. Your entire body is supposed to talk to all parts of your body and know what's going on. Like, hey, like, did you just stub your toe? Did you just eat something? Did you just get stung by a bee? All of these things are important things for every cell in your body to get the message, like get the immediate news flash of what the entirety of the body is doing. Cannabis creates that cell-to-cell communication. It's a huge part of the digestive system. Human breast milk has cannabinoids in it, even if the mother is not eating cannabis. Naturally produced breast milk cannabinoids, that has a huge part to do with helping a baby to actually ingest food and get it inside of themselves and make food bioavailable. Cannabis is literally an externalized form of what you have inside of your own body. I teach this a lot. The idea that the outside of whatever you have in your life reflects the inside. When you grow cannabis in your garden, you are literally growing an externalized aspect of your own inner biological architecture. And cannabis has a difference between its genetic possibilities, genotype, and its physical expressions, phenotype. And that means that it might have a genetic potential for this or that, but it has its physical expression as something that is exactly what you need. It is personalized medicine for you, as all food can be. So when you water your plants, you spit in the bucket. When you walk through your garden, the sweat of your feet and other biochemicals touches on the garden soil, and your plants sense, this is who and what I am growing for and in conjunction with, and I'm tailoring and custom making all of my nutrients for this person to give it to you. This is a very, very different paradigm in the sense of like, I'm eating food, I'm crushing it with my mouth, I'm getting it and I'm doing something bad to it. The food is given freely. I really want you to know this. The plants love you. They want to nourish you. This whole thing about food and judgment, and you're not allowed to have it, and you're a bad person for killing another organism, be it a plant or an animal, needs to stop. They are gifting themselves to you. They are body of Christ. Please accept the generosity and the beauty of the gift. And that is part of the alchemical process of gratitude and of food absorption. Please understand that. Please embody that. The world around you is a direct reflection of your own interior state. And when you grow a plant that produces the exact same chemicals that your brain can produce under the right circumstances. So a lot of people will be like, toss it out the window. Like, I don't have to grow that external plant because I have my own endogenous brain factory that creates endogenous cannabinoid chemicals. And it does under the right circumstances. That's emphasized in my notes. That means if you have the right things in your diet, then you and your brain and your body are creating your own innate levels of cannabinoids that are keeping you in a healthy and vital state. We haven't had that in the United States or in the Western world since World War II, when hemp was outlawed and when farmers stopped putting hemp into their products for the market, which included pigs and chickens and cows. So there's something that you can research lightly that is called silage, S-A-L-A-G-E, which is what happened when they would take the stalks of the hemp and use it for fiber, and take the leaves of the hemp and then put it into fermentation for animal feed. And that they would then feed that fermented hemp silage to their pigs, chickens, and cows. Hold on one moment. That means that the meat of cows and the milk that they produce would have naturally occurring cannabinoids. Same thing with chickens and their eggs, same things with the pigs. And they stopped doing this as a farming practice because of suppression of cannabis in the world, and also because of suppression agendas of wanting humans to be less psychically connected, less telepathic in their selves, less telepathic in their cell-to-cell metabolism, and also generally less healthy and more reliant upon pharmaceutical medicines. Truly, this is absolutely truthful in terms of human sociology. That's why I say you have to throw all the judgments about cannabis absolutely out the window. And we currently do not exist under the right circumstances. That would also mean not only having these dietary precursors, like your body makes its own endocannabinoids when you have the right precursors in your diet by eating these animals and their animal products that also have these aspects in them. It also has to do with, we are in this world of Bluetooth and electrosmog and all of these incredibly unhealthy vibrations and frequencies that make it incredibly difficult for our bodies to do their natural, well-balanced brain and body chemistry. This is why it is absolutely something that I advocate for everyone to drink your raw cannabis juice. Many people develop diseases because we currently do not live under the right circumstances. And then when they develop dis-ease, you fix it by ingesting cannabis. This is what a lot of people are learning. You can do this proactively. You don't have to develop disease and then ingest cannabis. You can ingest it proactively. I am a huge advocate for dietary and topical, meaning you drink it and you put it on your body to prevent diseases. The best way to prevent disease is to drink raw cannabis juice and eat raw cannabis flowers. So the way that you drink raw cannabis juice, for example, so like this comes as a frozen juice cube for me, or I used to make my own frozen juice cubes, collect the fan leaves, large sun collecting leaves from the plant, wash them in the way that you would wash any produce, and put it through a slow masticating juicer. I would often use juicier things like apples and lemons to be able to dilute the juice and get more out of it, because the leaves are not very juicy themselves. So it takes a lot of leaves, like a whole big giant satchel full of leaves, in order to make one little ice cube tray of cubes. But then those are very, very effective cubes. And the whole point is it is non-psychoactive and non-psychedelic. I'm not in judgment of psychoactivity. I think it has its place. I think it can be very positive for people to go into those elevated mental realms. And also, in terms of productivity and daily practicality, much more practical to drink a non-psychoactive juice so that you can drive your car, administrate, remember things, be responsible, take care of children, perform brain surgery, do everything that you need to do that are more difficult to do with a clouded consciousness that has psychoactive cannabis in it. So very good and very big to be able to do those things. So I feel very comfortable recommending to people that they drink raw cannabis juice because it is not psychoactive and there is no way to overdose on it. It does not interfere with any other dietary issues or drugs or prescriptions that you might be taking from a doctor. And it can only have positive aspects on both your health, your vitality, your digestion. It is anti-seizure, anti-cancer, and anti-inflammatory. So I started this protocol because I wanted to get off of anti-seizure medications that were pharmaceutical, that were had tons of side effects and are not good to take at all. And that, the raw cannabis juice and other dietary changes away from carbohydrates helped me to be able to control epilepsy without having to take all of these other definitely debilitating type of drugs. My quality of life improved immensely. So please understand and do more research. You can check out the work of Dr. William Courtney, Courtney. That is the person that I learned from in Northern California when I first moved out here. And he has done wonderful work on measuring and validating the concept of being able to do raw cannabis juice, especially for autoimmune diseases, inflammatory diseases. And people might not know this, but brain health, anxiety, depression is often caused by brain inflammation. that people that are having a lot of mental emotional issues and emotional imbalances are having these issues from brain inflammation. So for me, anti-inflammatory is necessary to control seizures, but it might also be hugely important as a mood stabilizer, having an anti-inflammatory effect, and so many other things, arthritis and many other things, many other digestive issues that are about inflammation and the body literally attacking itself. You got it? Yes. Use the large fan leaves, and one of the other things I would do is, so let's say if you have your plants make their flowers at the end of the year, October through November, or sometimes early December, you can take those flowers and dry them, which is what many people do in order to smoke them and achieve psychoactivity. You can also take those flowers, put them directly into a mason jar, close the lid, and just put it in your freezer. And then over the rest of the winter time or whatever, you take out one bud per day that's about the size of your thumb, like about that much, and put it in a blender with coconut milk or almond milk, something that has fatty fats in it, because these are fat soluble dietary chemicals, and hemp seeds, or something protein and something like that. And then you can put in something delicious like a mango or some kind of nice piece of fruit or whatever, but you blend it up into your smoothie. And that is absolutely, this is superfood, is what I'm trying to say, that these techniques that I'm telling you are physical ways of keeping your body in a super healthy state, even amidst the world that we are in that is intentionally trying to make you diseased and die. It's an intentional agenda. I'm laughing. It's not funny. So I'm definitely an example of this. And that's why I'm drinking my raw cannabis juice as an example to all of you. I'm not achieving psychoactivity by drinking this juice. I am achieving cell-to-cell communication, greater levels of longevity. I think it is anti-aging. I think it helps us to be, when I say anti-aging, meaning pro-cellular regeneration. That is how we can make our bodies last for hundreds of thousands of years in a very comfortable way. Angela says, I live in a state where cannabis is illegal. How do I access fresh cannabis for juicing? So challenging to have that. That's why I moved to California. So there are some tinctures and items that you can order online. They are known as THC-A or CBD-A, A meaning the acidic form, the raw, non-carboxylated form. So you might be able to access tinctures that are the raw form. And again, they will not have an effect on your brain. They don't go into your brain. They go to every other part of your body. Absolutely. And then you can see if they're able to ship them across state lines. So there are some places also that have things that are like THC Delta 8, THCV. Some of these things are derived from hemp. So there are some companies that are kind of getting around, circumventing the federal limitations in the United States to be able to create these tinctures that are not activated that you can ship across state lines. So you might be able to find something like that as well. But also, so find your tinctures, find a source, order it, use it. Advocate. We all got to advocate. I've said this so many times. Grow it in your garden and juice it like a vegetable. In the United States, it's different states that make up the laws for their particular realm. So it is absolutely essential for people to talk to their elected leaders in wherever your neighborhood is. If you're not in a state where it is possible to grow your own cannabis garden, have them change the laws. This is 100% a human construct where it is essential to be able to grow these plants, not be limited or be persecuted because you're doing it, and juice them the way you would juice carrots. It is the ultimate act of peacefulness, taking care of yourself, non-violent, just completely pro-life, pro-health in every way. It doesn't take anything away from anyone else. I can only say good things about this activity. Advocate for things to change in your area. So I'm very big on the accessibility issue, because it also is a huge, like, blah, blah, blah. I mean, I could tell you all about social reformation and things like that. And Aurora's plan to positively improve the world. But healthcare is a huge problem. And I've been through the human healthcare system, and I know what is a problem, what is wrong, and what needs to change. And a big part of what needs to change in terms of restructuring human economy, human healthcare, and many other things is simply relaxing all prohibitions so that people can grow the cannabis plant that they need to. If you grew it in your garden and juiced it the way that you would juice carrots or wheatgrass, you would save your healthcare system billions of dollars. So many of the things that people are taking that are anti-inflammatory, anti-pain, help for digestion, help for autoimmune diseases would all be treated simply by humans being able to grow and access their own simple plants and juice them and drink them every day. That would be revolutionary. It would change the efficiency of your healthcare system. I mean, it's not like you would still need healthcare to be able to have fixing your broken legs and, whatever, major surgeries for things that need to be sewn together. But so many other lesser diseases could be prevented and treated by that simple act. Think about it. On to the next. We ingest energy. Anything that's an idea is energy. So we're still on the idea of ingesting. You ingest food, you ingest air, you can ingest raw cannabis, we ingest energy. Anything that's an idea is energy. That includes your books, your TVs, your movies, all of those things that you're watching, you're ingesting. That's just as a brief aside. That show, The Game of Thrones, was very popular a couple of years ago. And I was watching some of it because I wanted to be like cool and talk with other people about what was the most, successful thing of the day. And it was so violent and I couldn't ingest it anymore because I would be thinking about those violent scenes and the blood and the bad things that happened in the show, even in a fictional portrayal. It affected me very much because what you are, hey, that's enough, thank you. What you are thinking about, what you are ingesting from books and movies and TV comes inside of you. So there's so many things about psychopaths. I'll show you my little dog is down here. Hold on a second. Psychopaths, psycho killers, all sorts of negative stuff that's going on in the world. Some of them are fictional portrayals. Some of them are non-fictional portrayals. And you're eating it all. Eating it as much as you would be eating whatever a McDonald's food or some kind of unhealthy thing that's going to clog the arteries. Really, really encourage people to avoid those negative fantasies and to only be interactive with shows that are much more positive, uplifting, and that will have a different type of residue. And I do try to avoid things that are violent. There are some shows that are good in spite of their violence. It's like, okay, like we have to get past this violent part to be able to get to the good plot part. Another one is music and recordings of people's voices. Anything you're watching on YouTube, you're ingesting. That's big. And a lot of people don't watch regular TV anymore, but they do watch YouTube. And there's a lot of people that are on YouTube that are talking about the end is nigh. This is me with my sandwich board ringing a bell. The end is nigh. Prepare for the end of the world, and all sorts of things like comets will strike the earth, giant tsunamis and tidal waves. Like when you are watching that stuff, you're ingesting those ideas, and that energy is not necessarily healthy, good food for you or for your mind or for your body. Longevity has a lot to do with your internal belief system structure. This is big. Everything that I'm teaching you right now, that's you're ingesting. First of all, thank you for tuning into my broadcast. Thank you for ingesting the food, ideas, and energy that I send out, because I'm absolutely sending it out with the positive parental intention. Like part of my personality structure as Aurora is very much about nurturing and protective. I feel that I'm a parent to humanity and a parent to the life that is here. And I want you guys to be able to grow up big and strong and achieve the greatness of your full potential. So I thank you to the people that tune into what I share and to my broadcasts, because this is food that is absolutely about empowerment, positive nourishment, and most importantly, about ideas for real longevity. Ideas that supersede the previously imposed cultural paradigm, that allow you to have a new viewpoint of what is the potential that you can achieve in terms of your greatness. Ingest and listen to videos from voices that align with the health approaches you are doing for your life. So that also includes, like, if you are doing a Rife machine or cannabis extracts or diet and nutrition or autophagy or homeopathy to be able to treat different body problems that you might have. Please do not listen to videos that are like, that tell you like homeopathy is nothing and you are wasting your money and you're this and you're thatting. Because none of that is helpful. Watch videos and align with things that support your worldview. Also, be surrounded by people who emit positive thoughts and are supportive and encouraging and validating of you on your worldview. So if you're telling someone like, hey, I am choosing not to eat for 16 hours at a time in order to increase something in my body that is called autophagy, in order to treat blah, blah disease, or in order to help my body and my life. And if they say, that is dumb and stupid, like that is not someone that you should be around. You should not be ingesting their energy from them. So I'll say it again, autophagy, that's P-H-A-G-Y, A-U-T-O-P-H-A-G-Y, autophagy. It's something that I've experimented with a little bit too. Like if you eat your last meal at 5 p.m., then you eat your next meal at like 7 or 8 a.m. That's not that difficult to achieve. And what it does, the 16-hour break means a body metabolism shift where the body shifts into white blood cells going around and cleaning stuff up, because you don't have a lot of food to digest during that time. So the body is like, well, I've got plenty of time. I better look around and see what I can clean up. Let's eat some cancer cells. Let's clean up some dead cells. So it's really, really good. In terms of longevity, autophagy is excellent for rejuvenation. Like I said, cleaning up diseased cells and cleaning up diseased or regular metabolites, which are the byproducts of body metabolism. Like when you burn wood, ash is the byproduct. And when you burn food in your body, there's a metabolite byproduct that is in your body that your body cells clean up, and like sweeping out the chimney, getting the ashes out of the fire pit so that you can put more food in there and burn more food. And if you give them a 16-hour break from putting more food in, they can sweep the chimney much more effectively. So that is what you do. So yeah, ingestion is not just what you eat, it is what you feel and think about what you eat. So the program, for lack of a better word, that I'm giving you right now here, a set of thoughts, is all about the generosity of the world, generosity of Christ, generosity of God and divinity in supporting you in your structure here. Plants and animals gifting their bodies to you, receiving in gratitude. That's a beautiful phrase that I would like for you to practice in when you receive. When someone gives you half of their muffin at work, I receive in gratitude. Thank you. Say thank you. Yes. And that is just a big part of the alignment with a different level. It is an energy alignment with a different energy frequency and a different perspective and belief system and viewpoint of the world. To not feel guilt about what you're eating, and also to not feel like, oh, like I have to get rid of my physical body. I can't wait till one day I'm no longer a food eater. No offense to anybody who feels that way. Like we get the ennui. Some people have been here, like we've been eating for a million lifetimes. Like, can I just stop eating already? Because I'm always like, no, guys, cannolis, like, but cannolis, these are wonderful. And we'll get into special treats later. But the attitude about food is not boredom, ennui, a tiresome chore, and nor is preparing it, and nor is shopping for it. All of these things are miracles, and digestion is a miracle, and photosynthesis is a miracle, and we are in gratitude for all these things, and no judgment on the things that you're eating, plants or animals, or nuts or fruits or raw cannabis. It is a gift. I receive in gratitude. Thank you for this gift. Structure is one of the other things we're going to talk about here. Belief structure, the literal chakra structure, which is your thought body. What is your chakra structure? It's this image I've been showing you quite a lot. This body that is made out of rainbows is made out of thoughts. It is your thought body. So when you sit here as beautiful, good students, and I'm able to share my thoughts with you, hold on one moment, I'll move back to where you can see me better. Hold on one moment. This is what I want. Thank you for sitting here as good students so that you are ingesting all of these ideas from me, and that these ideas are reshaping your thought body. Because at the end of this video, you turn off the video and you're like, I'm thinking about what Aurora just said. These wheels are spinning in a new and improved way. That's why I'm so intentional about what I share with you, the words that I use, the way that I present things to you. I want to be really, really accurate, because I want to accurately give you really good, nourishing food for your thought body. The literal chakra structure is defined and affected by what your thoughts are. It has a big impact on the shape of your chakras and their functionality. What you think has everything to do with the way that your chakras are spinning, how wide or small or well-formed they are. And same thing, what I was telling you about the dance of your DNA. Dance of your DNA is connected to the dance and spinning motion of your chakras. When someone told you as a little baby, one day you're going to die and you'll get in your coffin and you'll rot and worms will crawl in and out of your eyeballs. And like that, I mean, I'm joking, but there's that whole pinochle joke. Children's rhymes is what I'm talking about. You're dancing, 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 and then they tell you about death, and your death changes, the concept of death changes the activity of your DNA, and it also changes the motion of your chakras, and it changes the trajectory of you through your life to head to the membrane of death. There are a lot of death programs in this world, and I am here offering you in antithesis, life. And I offer, but do not impose. This is part of freedom. People are still able to choose death if they wish. And if they do, I love you and I accept you. I have beautiful, good friends that kind of are coming to the acceptance of death in the sense of being then, raised up again or going on to a new life or another incarnation. I love and respect you. I'm simply here offering an antithesis viewpoint that death is not necessary. It is not actually an exit to the wormhole, but that when we are here in this ascension moment, we do go through that wormhole. It is a redefining of what transition of consciousness can be and can look like. And we have a huge opportunity in this time and this place to be able to have that experience. The real answer as to how to achieve longevity is when you are harmoniously mirroring the divine structure of the cosmos, you yourself get to live forever. Just put on some music here. Louder music, louder music. And there's someone talking outside. I knew Chiki was going to bark because there's someone talking outside. The music of the cosmos sounds like this. The music of the cosmos sounds like this. And let me play something over here. That's my music. Music of the cosmos sounds like this. I play my music like a tinier, smaller, higher version of the music of the cosmos. It sounds like this. So the music of the cosmos are the giant chakra structures, the giant time structures, the giant galactic scale of time and events and divine consciousness, intelligence, and willpower. And then you get to live forever when you make yourself the right shape to fit within that larger shape. That's the real answer to all of this. And Ascension is basically being able to live for forever, to have continuity of consciousness. And we're coming out of this denser world and we're coming out of this mortal world and going into a world where you can absolutely be free by being perfectly shaped and being perfectly formed and playing your higher version, higher, smaller, tinklier version of music of the cosmos. You make your body shaped like a divine harmonic structure of the cosmos, becoming a coherent light being that is shaped just like a galaxy or a black hole or an atom, the divine perfection of energy vortices of an atom. You achieve perfect health. And in order to practice longevity, constant mind observership and weeding the garden of the mind, monitoring thoughts that lead you away from long life and that cause disruption and disease. So I told you the thought construct, the first seed that was planted inside of you, boom, you're going to die one day. And that we monitor our self in order to have a sense of which are the thoughts that lead us towards the membrane of death, which are the thoughts that lead us away from the membrane of death and onto the central core timeline of becoming a coherent light master. Cultivate thoughtlessness, mindful mindlessness, living in bliss. And the chakra system also has to do with what timelines we're experiencing, overcoming the inherent expectation of death by accident or disease. That's a big one because a lot of the lovely people that I'm connected to that just have an innate expectation, like you're just going to hop on your bicycle one day and get out there and get hit by a Mack truck. Oops, you died. And that they just see that as an inherent inevitability. And that, or just getting a disease or just being hit on the head by a meteorite. And I am constantly trying to tell people that is not an inherent inevitability. That is something that you've been programmed with. And then it is a self-fulfilling expectation where you then one day hop on your bicycle, go riding in traffic, and then, never make it home because you have been obliged in your expectation of the reality that you are creating. Back to co-creating the seeds of your mind architecture with the generative field of the world around you. Context. This is about a series of external events that are designed to support or not longevity. Your context is all the stuff that surrounds you, all of the events that surround you. Oops, hold on a second. I keep on trying to do this properly. Nope, I keep on trying to do this properly. Context are all of the events that surround you. This is the topical theme that I talk about all the time, individual versus context. Who you are as an individuated person within one epidermis versus the context of time and larger events, other people and organisms that you swim around in. The individual can be super healthy and balanced, but if you put them in a context that does not support biological life, they will die. So you can eat kale salad all day long, but if I put you in the cold, dead vacuum of space with no oxygen to breathe, you will die. Of course you will. Or if I put you on the highway with Mack trucks running over your body, you will die. Or if I throw you in a pit of lava, you will die. Because none of those contexts are made to support life. Do you understand? The problems of the here and now is that largely our social context does not support health and vitality. We have EMF, harmful frequencies. You're submerged in a sea of harmful chemicals. I'm going to give you a lot of bad news right now, but flying rainbow lasagna is always the good news in the solution. So you're surrounded by Bluetooth, 5G, EMF crapola, and also a bunch of chemicals. Some of the chemicals are air fresheners. If you have them in your house, please get rid of them now. Oh my goodness. If you have those plug-in air fresheners, get them out now. They are endocrine disruptors. They are terrible. They are chemicals. They are not helpful to you at all. And I'm on a guerrilla mission whenever I go into public bathrooms and I smell, I'm like, that's that chemical air freshener. I find where it is and I disable it. Like I take out the canister or I turn it off or I do something to it so that it's like spraying chemicals up your nose 12 million times a day for the purposes of just disrupting your body and your cell-to-cell communication. It's completely anti-health. It has nothing at all to do with making the air more pure or better. And that's just a small amount of the chemicals we've got. Gasoline, petrochemicals, things that are coming out of cars, so many different chemicals, and then chemtrails from the sky, which are also very, very troubling. All of these things surrounded by formalized systems that do not promote health and vitality, and that includes money. And I've told you about my journey here as being a walk-in, not comprehending like, oh, that's the food room. And then you need magical pieces of paper to be able to access the food in the food room. That is it being in a context that does not support life. That's like saying the food is conditional. You're going to be behaviorally controlled. You only get the food if you jump through these hoops. These hoops are not necessarily healthy hoops to jump through. That's what I'm talking about. You can be the most healthy person in the world, but if you do not have the pieces of paper that are the money that you need to be able to get into the food room to get the magic food, then you do not get to eat the magic food and your health and vitality goes down. So the necessity of conforming to the money system in order to achieve food. Without food, no longevity. Food is essential for ascension. Social context of where your physical body is placed. So that is also very big and important. Sacrificing of peace of mind, engaging in stressful patterns of behavior and emotional ingestion and exudation, using the physical body in an uncomfortable or destructive way. All of this leads to loss of vitality for the physical body. Hold on one moment, I'm just gonna have a little drink. Hold on one moment. When I talk about this, I'm talking about like becoming a coal miner. The idea of like, okay, I'm gonna need to have $1 in order to be able to buy some food. I'll go in the earth and mine some coal. Like it will destroy my health, and, you know, create like whatever, lung problems and other forms of destruction. But then I will at least have $1 to buy food. This eventuates the necessity of then buying medicine with the money you've earned through sacrificing your body. Many people now do not become coal miners, but they do work in a very stressful corporate structure where they do something similar. They either sacrifice their fitness by working long hours and then not exercising, their diet by not having the time that they need to actually prepare food for themselves lovingly, or they're under lots of fluorescent lights, no natural lights, seated at a bad posture, squinting at a blue light creating computer screen. All of these activities are the modern version of what it is to work in a coal mine. They create discomfort in the body, and then over time they create disease. And then the person says, oh, well, at least I have my job and my healthcare that comes from my job so that I can now pay for the medicines or procedures that will help me to fix my disease that I have achieved by working at this context that is not the right context. Culture will tell you that you should work at a job that gives you money but causes your eventual death, like coal mining. Culture will say, good job at getting that job that caused you to die of black lung. But culture is not your friend, as Terence McKenna said. And I also learned that in coming here as a walk-in. I was like, okay, first, when in Rome, do as the Romans do, like emulate everyone else. Then I did that for a little while, and I was like, don't emulate everybody else. They are doing things that are so antithetical to what is positive for the human body. And for longevity, you will ruin your body by doing what everybody else does. So you do not have to serve society's priorities. In fact, that is backwards. Society is meant to serve you. Activities that support longevity are exercise and yoga. And these are the things that people struggle to put into their busy schedules when they are busy working at jobs that are not necessarily comfortable and good for either their mental, emotional states or their mental bliss states, or their physical bodies. And like I said, in terms of body posture and sedentary aspects, and even, like I said, just being able to prep your food. Because after a little while of working, you know what it's like you get really tired. You're not going to prepare your own foods at home. You buy food that's either prepared or, like convenience food or something like that. It goes downhill very, very much. Before I move onward, let me say, okay, wait. Activities that support longevity are exercise and yoga. Yoga is it is a systemized way of moving and cultivating the body that comes from the Far East. It comes from their observation over many generations. So just as the Buddhist people have been able to tell from many generations about consciousness transference, Karmapas, people from many generations that transfer their consciousness from body to body over different generations, Far Easterners who were able to tell, like, if you hold your body in a certain posture, you are like an antenna, and it will help you to cultivate energy and longevity. And this also counts in terms of Tai Chi and other Chi cultivating and generating exercises. But I want you to know, like, the Western idea of yoga right now is like, I'm going to be able to do push-ups, or I'm going to be able to do back bends, or I'm going to be able to do the splits or something like that. My flexibility will increase. It is different than that. It is different than just working on flexibility and muscular strength. Those are byproducts of what happens. What you are really doing is creating a form of divine union. These two, let me read it for you. It is more than stretching and toning muscle fibers. Yoga is about divine union between the physical body and the non-physical chakra systems. These two aspects of self need to be seamlessly intertwined. When you have these two aspects of self fit together, that is how you get the longevity and coherence of an ascended master. So yoga, again, sometimes it helps us to have a body that is more athletic and more fit. It is about that. It is about that as a way of getting your energy body, bubble of energy, into good forms, and then having that positively affect every aspect of your skeleton, your organs, the functioning of your digestion, the functioning of your neurology, and all of it. It is for every layer of your body being to be able to do that. It is about divine union between you and your higher self. So it becomes about something, a much deeper practice. Athleticism is great, and I'm very much into just athleticism, but please know that these different postures are about bringing in energy, and that is very similar to what I do when I do flying rainbow lasagna dances, when it is more than a dance that might be like a ballet or a tango, that someone else is looking at you and you are making a beautiful movement and they appreciate that beautiful movement. Flying rainbow lasagna is a dance of regeneration and self-cultivation, where it is about cultivating an inner mind state and being state that when you have your eyes closed, it's not about them looking at you. It is about you connecting with your higher self and with your divine presence and with feeling just completely coherent. Coherent meaning waffles that stick together. Good light beams stick together, staying together on that level. The last thing that I want to talk about is emanations. What you send out has a lot to do with longevity, and it literally supersedes everything else. All these other factors are subsets of emanation, emanations from your pineal gland, emanations from your Christ chakra, from your third eye, from your reality creation mechanism. How do we get onto the longevity timeline? I draw my time vortex all the time. I'm going fast. I'm going to draw it. That little cone-shaped vortex with the central core timeline that goes all the way up to infinity. How do we get onto that timeline? The answer is through cultivation of consciousness. And the real answer to longevity is by aligning yourself with the central core timeline. Now we're getting to the cannolis. What you need to do to be on that central core timeline is perform all of the activities and behaviors and be a part of all the events that are on that timeline. This is the story of you as an infinite being. And some of the activities and events of the story of you as an infinite being might include eating a cannoli or a bacon sandwich or some other thing that might be considered a decadent treat. And I mostly eat things that are like, very healthy and with no sugar. There in this neighborhood here, there's an amazing pastry shop, and I got this amazing pastry and I ate it and I imprinted upon it and I remembered what it tasted like, and it's there, like along with the fried chicken, as like one of the most amazing sensory experiences of what I've ever had. These are important things. These are important things for us to do. Sometimes you have an inner directive that you need to do a sensory pleasure, and that is part of who and what you are on your ideal timeline. But I always advocate, like, that's not something that you're supposed to do every day. That was a once in a lifetime experience. And then I ate that thing and then I remember what it was like. Like, I don't have to go back and get that every day or every week or even every year. But that was a peak moment, a high peak moment. And I'll get to these questions and comments. Hold on, let me just get through, then I'll get to part two. It's an abstraction. Really, like, listening to God's divine command at every moment means that sometimes you will be told, yes, we want you to go into that pastry shop. God wants you to go into that pastry shop, and God wants you to eat a cannoli, right? And that was me when I lived in New York City. There was an amazing cannoli shop. And I'm happy I went there when I lived, not in New York City, but I lived in New York and I was visiting the city. When I lived there, I ate the cannoli, and I'm happy that I did, because they don't make them like that in California. So you eat the thing that is important at that moment, and that is part of fueling your journey on the central core timeline. But then you also have to eat all the healthy stuff that balances all of that other stuff out, and then do all the dancing and all the lasagnaing and all of the exercising and yoga that balances all of that stuff out. And this is also part of living in gratitude, because not everything's about denialism or rejection. Being like, no, I'm not going to eat that. No, I'm not going to do that. I want to be an ascended master, because I know someone who was so afraid of not ascending. Their nightmare that they shared with me was, I had a terrible nightmare. There was like a piece of hamburger in my mouth and I wasn't allowed to ascend because I had eaten the hamburger. And they were like a devout fruitarian, and they would never eat any meat or hardly any protein. So it was just very enlightening to me to understand that some people are very much in that denialism. I want you to be in gratitude. Not only gratitude, I want you to be in celebration of having a body and of having the physicality experience. Trisha's agreeing with me so much, and that life is a gift and food is a gift. On this timeline, so also on the timeline of immortality, what you also hold forth is that you will experience or be given access to whatever is the regenerative tool that you need in order to achieve immortality. So in human mythology, this has been spoken of as the philosopher's stone, that is from the alchemical world, or the fountain of youth. There are all of these different myths. You can help me to come up with them, because I don't know that many of them. So if you guys can think of them, write them in the chat. Myths about things that give you eternal life. Like I said, like fountain of youth. And sometimes it's like a magic wand or a crystalline spring. You dip in the spring and you're able to come out renewed. That being on the central core timeline, I'm getting chills as I tell you this, and that's usually confirmation, has to do with finding that magical experience that is renewal, freedom, and allows you to move forward. And it can also be encountering the concept of the flying rainbow lasagna and embodying that into your DNA behavior also. You hold open the door for total rejuvenation and enhancement. That's what that central core timeline is about. So that's what I tell everybody. Like, some people think, like, I'm old, like, I'm so old, I should just die and get a new body. Like, no, I'm like, no, don't take that program. Here's a different program that you're able to instead meet someone new, have some amazing new experience, go to some amazing new place, and then everything that you touch rejuvenates you and you have a completely different, feeling state. That's what is necessary. Like, whatever, I'm thinking of a science fiction novel about someone who goes through a portal with his wife, and they were old and haggard, and then in this new place they eat nothing but fruit, and the fruit in that place has an amazing regenerative effect, and then they all grow like younger and their gray hair goes away, and then they go back through the portal to where everybody knew them, and they're like, you guys are looking great, like, where have you been? Things like that sound like a fictional structure, and those can be as experienced as what is considered to be non-fictional reality structures. And the whole idea of being an ascended master or ascending master, you have a body for as long as you want or need to. And then when you wish to be in a different format or experience, you may. That's what it was like or is like in Atlantis. That in the time of immortality, you live in a form, in a body for as long as you want to. You have the adventures, you know, I can't even put it into words. Have an incredibly rich life experience and quality of life that is purely blissful and euphoric. And then when you're done, then you transcend into a different form. That is very, very different than dying. So I'm going to be on to part 2 in a moment, even though I know I've just done 2 hours. Like that's me 2 hours on just like what is a half-hour presentation. Watch the recorded videos, the teachable videos. They're really worth it. Aaron, thank you for being here. And you always ask lovely questions. He says, Aurora, what is your perspective and experience on fasting for longevity and energy integration? So for many years, I did not do fasting or anything like that because I have epilepsy and had to make sure my blood sugar stayed stable. But in more recent years, my blood sugar has been doing really well. My epilepsy has been doing really under control. And what I've been experiencing and sometimes experimenting with is called autophagy. That's again, AUTOPHAGY. And that is a metabolic state that your body goes into when you don't eat food or sometimes water for about 14 to 16 hours. So what I do on those days is, and I do eat protein, which definitely helps. Like if you eat meat, then the meat has a longer presence in your body and in your digestion. So like if you have eaten your last meal at 5 p.m. and it contained meat, that can sustain you for many, many hours. And this is also like, this is the ancient hunter-gatherers way of eating, guys. Ancient hunter-gatherers would not be like, okay, let's eat. Then like, let's have another little snack, then another little snack. Like it was not like that. It was like, oh, like we just hunted some game. We're going to cook it up. We're going to eat a lot. And then like, then we're going to not going to eat for a little while. And then we're going to go on to the next thing, get really, really active. And then we're going to get really, really hungry. Then we're going to eat again. So it is a different way of approaching food, thirst, and hunger. And so I found like I had to do a lot of healing in terms of blood sugar stuff and feelings of scarcity. So when I don't eat, it's not because of scarcity. So I set up my days that I eat most of my protein in the middle of the day and then, finish eating by 5 or 6 o'clock. And then that means that the next time that I will eat will be like 8 or 9 a.m., which is not painful to have to do at all. And I found that when I was doing that, my body really appreciated it, definitely felt rejuvenative effects, felt a lot of detox effects in my eyes. So this is what I have seen changes of, like my eyes that are hazel, that are sometimes mostly brown, but they change to more of the blue-green that's in there from the autophagy, that it showed me in my eyes that I could tell that my body was doing some effective detoxification and clearing out. So I'm a big proponent on it. Everybody has to have their own journey. So if you can't do fasting comfortably, then please don't do it. But I have read a lot of really positive things of people doing autophagy for rejuvenation, anti-cancer. Like I said, giving your body a break from ingesting means that your body has a chance to not only digest, but cleanse everything out that needs to be cleansed out. And then the other thing is that, like for me, I'm relatively slender and I don't want to miss my meals. So if I'm doing autophagy, I'm like, okay, this is my window of time when I'm going to eat. I have to make sure I eat all my stuff in the middle of the day, because I'm not going to be able to eat that extra little meal before I go to bed to be able to get enough calories. So if you don't want to reduce and you want to stay a good size, then make sure that you kind of double up on your foods in the middle of the day. So you're eating more things together in the middle of the day, as opposed to spread out later. And like I said, I found very positive things. So some people like to do fasting that is longer than 14 or 16 hours. And when I do it, sometimes I'll do it several times a week, but not every day. That's big. So I'll do autophagy maybe like 3 times a week, but then sometimes my schedule doesn't allow for it. I'm like, okay, like didn't get it together on that. So then, you do the best you can. Some people really enjoy 1 day of fasting per week, just like not eating anything, just giving the body and the digestion a complete 24-hour break, doing like a water fast where you just drink water. And some people really enjoy doing a fasting that involves something like a diluted maple syrup, sometimes it's maple syrup, lemon, and cayenne, something that is just a very small amount of blood sugar to kind of keep your blood sugar up, but no solids, to be able to give the body a rest. I think all these things are really positive things. And that if you can get past the sense of a starvation response, because for some people, they're like, there's no food, I'm gonna die, like, give me a donut now. Or I need something now. When you can get past that and reassure yourself, like, there's plenty of food, I just don't need it right now, everything is fine, then I think it can be very healthy and very powerful. So experiment with your own body and your own biochemistry. Only do things safely that feel right and work for you. And let me read what Trish says to me in a direct message. Oh, that's such a beautiful confirmation about yoga's divine connection and being an antenna. I love it. Let me do a truncated version of this part 2, which is about energetic hygiene. This works in conjunction with all of these teachings about longevity. And I did a lot of these energy hygiene things, just knowing about it and feeling about it intuitively, not reading it from a book. So that is how I share it with you. I'm telepathic, I am empathic. I do these things to clear out my bubble of energy. So you have a bubble of energy that is all around you. It is porous. Energy comes into you, energy exits out of you. Every time that you interact with someone in your daily life, your bubble of energy overlaps with them. Let me draw this as the whiteboard. Here's me, and here's my stick figure of me, right? And I'm going to draw a giant aurora energy field. And then here's another person. And this other person, their physical body might be all the way over here. And these are very hastily drawn stick figures, guys. You know that I can actually really draw. Our energy fields overlap. And this guy over here, he could be like an upstairs neighbor. He could be a customer that was at work. He could be anybody that I pass on the street. This area of interaction here is an overlap, and you're getting some of their energy in you. And let's say they talk to you. Boom, I just put energy in. That guy just talked to me and he put energy in my field, or looked at me or interacted with me in some way. Boom, he put energy into my field. So this is essential for everybody, not just for empaths. All of us essentially become empaths. Empath meaning that you feel and sense the emotions of others. Cleansing and clearing at the end of the day. So just like at the end of your day, no matter what your physical activities have been, okay, let me rewind a little bit further in my conversation here. When you are a little child, you learn the physical hygiene of your physical body. That says at the end of your day, you need to take off your shoes, take off your socks, take off your daytime clothes, clean your feet, brush your teeth, wash your face, wash your hands, get into your pajamas, get ready to get into your nice clean bed. And that these are like simple things that we teach children. When you wake up in the morning, brush your teeth, comb your hair, get ready, put on your daytime clothes. That this is like considered simple human practices for being clean and living like a positive social presence. Like you're not supposed to come home and sleep in your clothes that you were in during the day. That is not good physical hygiene. And it's not good energy hygiene, because during the day you walked around, you not only got sweat and cells in your body on your dress, but you also got a bunch of energy from all the other people that you walked around in on your dress. You come home, take off everything. How about like wearing your underclothes? You don't wear the same underclothes every day. You don't wear the same shorts every day. You take them off. You wore those shorts yesterday. You got to put on clean shorts the next day. That is something like, you're like, Aurora, you are telling us simple things, the lessons of a little tiny child. You are baby sea turtles. You are nascent consciousnesses coming to learn what it is to have a light body. At the end of your day, you need to clear your light body. So you can do this in various different ways. An Epsom salt bath is absolutely wonderful. If you can't do a full submersion bath, or if you don't have a bathtub, do a foot bath. Epsom salts are salt with magnesium. The magnesium is positive for your body in just a general way, but salt is a cleansing and clearing agent. Let me go, but so your bubble of energy, you take on other people's emotional stuff, they take on your stuff. You want to clear everything out at the end of the day, especially before you go into nighttime dreaming and all of that. So, so some of the wonderful things you can do. I also use sage. Let's say you don't have time for a foot bath. Let's say you're extremely tired, you don't have time for a bath or a shower. And you can take Epsom salt or salt scrub and just salt your body as a cleansing and clearing. I am big on sage. And let's say you live someplace where you're not allowed to ignite things. Like there are some places where there's smoke alarms, you cannot smoke indoors, you cannot bother roommates or housemates. So I don't have a sage wand. I have them in my bedroom. If you have a wand of the herb that is called sage, you can light it and spread that smoke around to clear an environment. You can also simply use the sage wand to clear the environment. You can simply use the wand. You can simply use the wand and your intention to clear your energy field. So energy and intention are absolutely in alignment. There are some aspects of the actual smoke, the polyphenols that come off of sage that help to clear bacterium and viruses out of the atmosphere. There's something measurable by science that happens. And also, it is about the smell and the subtle energies of that plant of being able to clear one's environment. How do you sage? So whether your wand is ignited or whether it is not ignited, you sage with your intention. This has to do with what you're emanating from here. So you also have to understand you must sage anything that is a doorway or an opening. A doorway can be a physical doorway. It can be an opening like a window. It can be anything that is a square. Here's a square painting behind me. Here's a square painting behind me. And shelving that have squares in them. This goes to feng shui and some of these ideas about 90-degree angles. So how the procedure for saging, either light the sage or do not light the sage. Then you clear your own energy field. I clear it in a spiral all around me, clear it in a spiral all around me. I clear underneath my feet. I'm saging underneath my feet, like I'm lifting up my foot so I can go underneath my feet, all the way underneath me, all around me. Wonderful. I've just saged my body. Then the next thing I do is beginning at the east, in my room that I am in, I go in a clockwise direction around every single one of these square openings. And as I do so, I use my intention to clear away old energy. You know, when you're using a paper towel with Windex, I always joke about this, you're clearing with your mind. You're clearing with the physical substance that is a solvent, but you're also clearing with your mind and with your energy and with your intention. That is what clearing with sage is. So you begin in the east, and then you turn and you go to the south, and then you go to the west, and then you go to the north, and then you have completed the circle. And when I complete the circle, I often do a little page break. That is done. And you should also go around your whole house, and you should do every single room in your house. And as you cleanse and clear and you release the energies that you don't want, you should also bless and be in gratitude for all that you have. So a lot of what I repeat in my mind is, I am so happy and grateful to have this beautiful art studio. I am so happy and grateful for my kitchen where I cook my wonderful food. You know, I'm so happy and grateful for my bedroom where I get my nice, beautiful, peaceful rest at night. So it is two things. You are removing the energy structures that you do not wish to be marinating in, and you are replacing them with the positive energy structures you do wish to be marinating in. This matters a lot. This can have a huge energetic impact on the feeling of your room, the feeling of your house, and the feeling of where you live. So you use sage to be able to do that type of clearing, and you can also use salt. You can sprinkle a perimeter of salt around your house, and you can say, I am sprinkling this around my house, and I'm creating a bubble of peace and energy that is clearing anything out. You can leave a bowl of salt out. Let's say you don't like the vibes that are on your crystal magic wand. You can put it in a bowl of salt and leave it there to clear it out. You can get into a tub of salt water. You can soak your feet in salt water. You can scrub your body with salt water. The importance of this is using your intention to cleanse objects or places with salt. So again, like if you're like, I'm having bad nightmares, like put a bowl of salt next to your bed to absorb the energies that you do not want. So this is like put a box of baking soda in your refrigerator to absorb the negative odors, food odors of things that you don't like. You clear your refrigerator, right? Clear your house. Another, like I didn't mention this in the recording, but when you move into a place, you move into a new apartment or a new house, clear that house. Clear that house when you come home after a vacation or whatever. Clear the house. Clear the house all times. Like there's no such thing as doing it too much. Really, really big on claiming your energetic space. So part of it is removing stuff. When you clean the house also, like you're going to sweep the floor, mop the floor, you are clearing your house. So before I do my flying rainbow lasagna dance, before I do my artwork here in my studio, almost every morning, what I do is I sweep the floor, sweep the dojo, get out all of the energy from previous times. And then I put down my gym mat so that I'm ready like to dance on a clean floor. But this is also about sweeping out old energy that I don't want there. And also this is about creating like a pristine environment where you can really relax energetically. When I'm a telepath, empath. So I can feel like there's all this energy here. Like I can't relax. I feel like I have to be all closed in like this. I can't relax. Like imagine if like the floor is sticky and like you don't really want to put your feet down. There's like Cheerios are stuck to the floor, spilled fruit juice. Like you don't really want to walk on that floor. You're like, you know something, I can't even relax here. The first part of an creative activity is clearing the space. And you can tell I just did a Merkaba, clear the space also, and physically clear the space. And then I feel like, like now my wings can come out and relax. Like instead of my wings having to be close, and like they can absolutely come out and relax. Creativity is a divine co-creative partnership activity, and it needs to be done in a safe, protected space, preferably private, just like lovemaking. Safe, protected space, preferably private. Putting energy into your energy field that you do wish to be there. So clearing things out you don't want, putting things in that you do want. Meditation is one of the things you can do that. When you meditate, you're actually putting positive energy into your space. If you have a cushion or a corner or a place where you tend to sit, that is a place that has good vibes. I have my rainbow chair. I actually don't like it when visitors or weird people come and sit in my rainbow chair. I'm like, no, that chair has cultivated my good vibes. It's a good vibe spot. I don't want anybody to come and sit there. So yeah, I have my spots where I like to sit, and it is totally appropriate to have boundaries. Boundaries are part of positive energetic hygiene, where you can say, that is my spot, please don't sit there. I cultivated my energy field there. Another thing, I don't have it here in the room right now, my lasagna dancing floor mat. Like it's like a big giant gym mat that I unfold, and I do a lot of dancing, exercising, lasagnaing on there. That is like my spot. And when I put that down, I'm like, oh, this is my spot. And Chiki can come on my mat with me. She can come climb aboard. She's invited to do that. But yeah, like, no, I don't just allow it to be used in any old way. Okay, so meditation is one. It should be joyful, blissful, and necessary, but not forced. Not a grim death march, not like, okay, set the timer. I'm going to have to meditate now for this many minutes or this many hours. Not a grim death march, something that is like, this is so pleasant and so enjoyable. Let's just do this thing. And I often do headphones for my meditations because I told you, my brain is very, very active. So I often have to be like, okay, put on some headphones and some music. And what it means is I sit in stillness. And I usually sit with my legs crossed. Please don't stress your knees. Sit in a way that is comfortable for you. It does help to have your spine up because it's a activated activity, not a like slumped activity. So it's an activated activity. And then when I listen to music, when I'm meditating, what I do is I connect my mind to like the drums. Like, okay, like I'm going to listen to the drums. I'm not going to talk. Then I'm going to just listen to the guitar. I'm not going to talk. Then I'm just going to listen to this other sound. I'm not going to talk. And I'm going to see how many instruments I can just listen to without talking. And that is how I do my meditation. And it ends up becoming just like coasting on a bike, riding a bike, just coasting along, very effortless. And that's a positive energy field. Next thing we can do in terms of putting energy that you do wish to be there, sun gazing. I've talked about this a lot with you guys, connecting your root chakra and third eye to the sun in conjunction, root chakra and third eye to the sun, and that you're filling up your entire energy presence here. That puts it into your energy field. So I'm not just talking only about your house. I'm talking about the bubble of you. Back to this whiteboard over here. Back to the whiteboard, everyone. This is what I'm talking about. Oh, I should use the other color. My pink energy field. When I meditate, I am putting energy into my pink energy field over here. When I do music and artwork, I'm putting energy into my pink energy field over here. When I do sun gazing, putting energy into my energy field. And then also I said connecting to the earth and earthing. And I gave you extensive instructions about that. You go barefoot or don't wear shoes. Don't do that in a place where you're going to get frostbite. Please don't do that in the middle of the winter time in Alaska. That is not what I'm saying. But this is why I live in San Diego, so that most of the year I can be putting my bare feet on the ground. Most of the year I can get outside and do sun gazing. It's that important to me to be able to get these energy field re-ups, like re-energizing. Sit on the actual earth, like put your butt on the ground as long as it's not covered in broken glass, dog poop, or permafrost or something like that, actually sitting on the ground, hugely, hugely helpful and good for us as beings, as people. And sometimes you can go even further. This is what I used to do when I lived in Northern California. I had more of like a private garden space with lots and lots of grass. Again, be mindful, don't get ticks. But I would lay down, belly down on the earth. So if this is Earth's surface, I would lay down like this with my chakras all lining up with the earth. And I really felt like I was laying down on the beautiful chest of a parent. And I speak about this in the recorded lesson. I don't know what your relationships are like with your parents. Like, I'm very aware that many people have difficult relationships with their biological family members. So if I say the word parent, you might be like, oh no, like my mother, my father, they drive me crazy. We understand this. Please think of Earth and Sun as your cosmic parents who are perfect, divine, and are totally unconditionally loving. That's hugely important. Oh, their arms are always open to you. They're always there to treat you as beautiful children in homecoming. And there's this really amazing feeling of like when you lay down on the earth, like belly down, and it can be good. Like if there's sand, if it's like a comfortable place to lay down, and you just feel all of your chakras aligning with all of the chakras of the planet. And there becomes this wonderful coherence between you and the planet. And I feel like a lot where, someone's sleeping on the little chair over there. But a lot of the time, like my dog lays down on my chest in the same way. Like I feel our chakras align. I feel beautiful love and beautiful heart connection between her and me, and just so much love and snuggliness. Or if you have cats that do that too, it is that type of a feeling, like Earth as a real organism, Earth as a beautiful, loving mother, and laying down. This is part of putting energy into your energy field that you want to be there. And then one of the final things is what I do when I'm sleeping, that I do a lot of stuff that, like, I'm joking, like, it annoys my dog a lot because she's all curled up in a ball and I'm like flipping like a pancake, like over here. And sometimes she goes like, grr, grr, like you're making way too much noise. Like you're waking me up. Like this is a roller coaster ride. But like if this is your bed, like first of all, like it's so important, like you get into bed, like stretch out everything, stretch out your whole legs and your toes and your arms and your spine. And then when I go to sleep, like I'll sleep. But then I'll also like, okay, in the middle of the night now, because your body goes through all these emotional processing when you sleep. Your conscious mind goes into neutral and the rest of your body goes into super drive. And you do all sorts of the autophagy is the physical part of it, but you do digestion, emotional processing, energy processing, all these things that are about clearing stuff out that you've experienced during the day. So we go into that restful moment of sleep in order to cleanse and clear and realign ourselves. And for me, I'll just stand up and kind of show it to you as if you can imagine I'm like laying in a bed while I do this. Like, you know, sometimes I might be sleeping like this, but when I wake up or unconsciously, like I'll do a ton of like, oh, a big stretch of my back and my spine. Because when you're laying down, the vertebrae are not compressed. They have an opportunity to kind of expand. Sometimes like a twist to one side, a twist to the other side. I throw my leg over the side of the bed. I throw my leg over the other side of the bed. Like I'm telling you, like my dog really says grr at me because I'm a very active sleeper. But I want you to feel okay with this. When I have had to sleep like in a little cocoon sleeping bag, I could not do it. I was like, I'm so stuck inside. I can't take it. I unzipped the thing so that I could be more like moving my arms and legs out of the sleeping bag. Like I know you need it for warmth, but like I could not do that. So that is a big part of energy processing. All of these things, energy hygiene, meaning like just like you wash off the dirt, but you leave the good stuff, right? And also longevity practices. All of these are ways of recognizing and acknowledging like you're much more than your physical body presence. You have all these non-physical subtle layers of being. What do you do for the care and feeding of these subtle body layers? And I'm definitely an expert on that. Like I had to learn like how to make coffee and what do you drink? Eat with coffee. Like you have to have a little piece of something like a toast or something, because that is like will burn your tummy if you don't have something. I didn't know about that for a very long time. Then I'm like, oh, like you need to have toast at the same time that you drink coffee. And I had to learn about all these things. Other things I'm an expert at. Like I know about energy, like, oh, like we're gonna have to move this and make this go like this, that feels so much better. Yeah, those things are very normal and intuitive to me. So yeah, now that I did that, now I'm like, oh, okay, now we're gonna have to stretch out this hamstring back over here. We're gonna have to stretch out this hamstring back over here. Like there, and now I'm ready to go into like a whole routine. Because first, like I moved energy here. Like first, I'm going to move energy here. Then I'm going to bend forward. I'm going to stretch over here. Like then I'm going to do the stretch like this. Like that whole thing that I do. And that is all very intuitive. And also it might remind you of like, how do little babies sleep? Like, have you ever seen a little baby when they sleep? Like sometimes they're swaddled up like in a sleeping bag, but a lot of the time they're like, I'm flipping like a pancake. I'm flipping on this side. I'm flipping on this side. I'm rolling over. I'm in a crazy position. I think that there's a type of freedom of this non-acculturated ways of sleeping that are very positive in the ways that we move our body. Be free, be natural, be unfettered, be unacculturated in the way that you move your body, especially in sleep at night. So now let me go to some beautiful, opening the floor now. Too, because that was mostly the rest of part 2. I did a truncated aspect of that, and I will send out the notes to class later because I know this is, I always do a very long presentation and I try to keep it 2 hours, but it's always more. Martine says, I'll listen to more later because it's nighttime Europe. Thank you for being here. Thank you for signing off. Trish says, another thing about fasting is based on the biological clock, and the stomach stops working at 8 p.m. And the reason with having the last meal of the day at 6 p.m. is perfect, giving the 2 hours for digestion, and the food we eat after 8 p.m. stays undigested and it kind of gets fermented until the next morning. So food intake triggers bile production in a liver, which is used for long hours and deprives the body from this major highly alkaline fluid. I totally get what you're saying. Yeah. And I feel like I've just recognized that intuitively, that better to eat protein earlier in the day, better to stop eating around 6 p.m. and it gives your intestines a time to kind of process things. And then when you go into 8 p.m. and beyond, like bedtime, pajama time, then you go into a restful time, which is hard because that's when a lot of people want to snack. Like that is like the Netflix time. That is like the sitting and snacking time. So again, it's just moving beyond those acculturated habits that are not necessarily healthy, and also just confirm to your body, like I'm not eating right now, but it's not because you're dying or because you're starving or because you're poor. It's not because of poverty. It's like you just tell your body, like, we'll eat again in the morning and we'll look forward to it and it will taste really good because we're going to eat that then. And also make sure you're getting enough calories earlier in the day. So when, for the hours between whatever, 9 a.m. and 6 p.m., just eat your foods then and then eat your meals effectively. Lucy's checking out, but we will be back soon. Thank you very much for being here because we know that Lucy has a very extensive schedule. It's always doing stuff. So yeah, opening the floor to any questions or comments that people might have or personal sharings on their own energy practices. This is still recording, so anything that you share will be shared with the rest of the class. But if you would like to, I can also close down the recording and then we can just talk together as classmates, because I also appreciate, we always have a lovely rapport and learn different things from each other just in chatting and conversation. And I'm going to drink the rest of my cannabis juice. Questions, comments? You're free to unmute if you wish. If not, then I will say profound thank yous to everyone who has been here in the actual time that I recorded this. And thank you to everyone who's in the class and catches this as the archive, and the people on Patreon. Thank you very much. I thank you as always for ingesting the ideas and the energy that I send out, because you tune in, voluntarily to listen to what I have to share, and everything that I'm telling you about and sharing with you is for the ideas of your own personal empowerment, upliftment, being on your journey, moving towards longevity, remembering your immortality, moving through that wormhole and having coherence and becoming a coherent light body. That's my intention for all of these things. So thank you very much for tuning in and aligning with all of those ideas that I share.